my craft table today, I've been working on some mason jar embellishments. You can call them mason jars, canning jars, preserving jars, but these are just a little embellishment that's made from cardstock. One use for these might be to get a hole punch and punch a hole in the top and then use these as a gift tag. That would look really cute. But the main thing that I'll use these for a lot of times is just to embellish in a junk journal. So this is one I've been working on, and this would look pretty cute, just poked down here in a corner and then glued on. You could even just glue the 3 sides of it and then have it as a little tuck spot. But anyhow, it's just a really cute little paper embellishment, and I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to make these. So for these particular embellishments today, I am just using a punch. This is like the shape of a mason jar or canning jar, and this one is from EK Success. It measures about 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. The actual one does when it's punched out, just to kind of give you a size reference. So these are just smaller embellishments, so they're not real big. But if you don't have a punch like this, you can always get like a die, you know, the little metal die that you can run through your machine. And those are pretty easy to find nowadays. So anyhow, let me show you how I've made these. We'll scooch these up here out of the way. And I'm going to show you, let's see, this one in particular. I've got those same patterns pulled out. So let me move all this other out of the way. We'll put those 2 up here at the top so you can see them. When I pick my pattern choices, I try to use kind of a darker and a lighter on all these. And then I just use the same colors. One's the jar part and one would be like what we would consider the material on the top tied around. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. I've got this one. It's got the polka dots. So I'm going to just do one of those. And then I'm going to need 2 of them. Move that to the side, and we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to punch out 2 of these. One there, and one there. Now this that I'm using is just a thinner paper, and I'm using this particular paper just because I like the patterns. And so what I'm going to need to do is I've got a scrap piece of cardstock, and I want these to be a little thicker so they have a little bit more, a little more substance to them. So I'm going to glue them onto these pieces of white cardstock. So let me do that first. I've got a piece of glue paper, and I've just got some stick glue. And this is just going to help it be a little thicker. I don't want it to be too flimsy on me. Try to line it up at the top. And you can tell on this one where it just kind of, the paper itself kind of, when I punched it, it looks like it kind of ripped the paper a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to ink the edges and you won't be able to see that too much. So that's not a big deal. So we'll do the same thing with this other one. This right there, and actually it won't matter on that anyway because we're going to be covering the top with this other sheet anyway, so that won't matter so much. So those are my thicker ones for now. And then these I am going to in order to make this, you can either use your scissors and kind of do a scallop, but I have these old school ones that have the scallop on them already, so I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to cut across just down a little bit like that. We don't need that part anymore. And do the same thing for this one. Okay, and for these 2 toppers on here, in order to get this look right here of it kind of having that ruffly look as the bottom part of like what the fabric would be if you were doing this on a real mason jar, I'm going to fold over this top like that, kind of move it out of the way, and then I'm going to come underneath and use my fingernail, and right where that little scallop comes up through there, I'm going to give it a little bend, and then the same thing with this where it comes up here, and give it a bend. And then I'm going to use some Distress ink. This is the Distress ink and the walnut stain. And then I'm going to just kind of ink both sides there and give it a little bit more detail. Same thing with that one. And then I am going to end up inking around the whole edge of this, but since this will be on, glued on already, I'm going to go ahead and do the very edges of it as well. The rest of it I can catch all together. So let's do the same thing with this guy. We'll fold it right in there and just lift it up out of the way. Bend at that crease. And that one, and then I'll ink both sides. And then catch the bottom again. All right. That looks pretty good. Move this out of the way. I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto here. So I want to make sure I got these opposite. And I'm only going to glue on this top part here. So it's going to keep that little ruffle look that I'm going for. Like I said, if a little bit of white shows up there, that's okay, because we're going to ink that edge up. All right, do the same thing on this one, only gluing on the top. Alrighty, and then I'm going to bring my ink back over and go around the whole thing. That thing's getting sticky. Let me get a new piece out here. Just so my little ink will, if it falls off of the sponge, it'll hit on my piece of paper and not my table. Alright, pretty quick work of that. Same thing with this one. This brown just kind of covers up those little white spots. Just makes a nice little lovely embellishment. These would also look cute if you gave a gift, you know, like a mason jar, jam jar full of jellies or jams, or really anything that you want to put in it as a little gift, and then make this into a little tag to tie around your jar. So a jar on a jar, essentially. So anyhow, let's look at the next thing here. I'm going to go ahead and add a little heart down at the bottom, and for that I've just got a little bitty one. Let me grab my little scrap of red that I have. Just pop that little guy right in there. Same thing on this side for one more. And then to put this on, to make sure it stays well, I'm just going to use some tacky glue. Whatever kind of liquid glue you might have would work great. But I'm just going to put a dot and another dot. Put it right in the corner. But you can mess around and you can add flowers to these. You can stamp on the bottom if your color is light enough. Lots of fun things and ways to embellish that. And then for the top part, I'm just going to tie some string on. I've just got, well, that's about a 10-inch piece of string that I'm going to put at the top. And if you have some like little tiny beads you wanted to put on the string itself, that might be kind of cute. Just gonna make a bow. and then trim the edges. Okay, and I'll do the same thing for this one. So that's just another fun, simple project for today. And we've got 4 of those, and a couple greens, a couple blues, and then a couple of yellowish, pinkish colors. So that's it for today, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.